Most people are compulsive thinkers. When told that there is a voice in their head that never stops speaking, they say, "What voice?" or angrily deny it, which of course is the voice. The voice in the head is like a virus that has entered your brain and has taken possession of your life. That voice can literally kill you if you leave it uncontrolled. It has driven many people to the point of suicide, depression, and anxiety. My goal with this video is to increase awareness so that you can shut up that voice and take back control of your life. The information you will hear in this video comes from a book titled A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. This is the type of book that I would personally force my parents and everyone I love to read. I have 5 takeaways from the book for you, so let's get started. Lesson number 1. Who are you? I have good news. The voice in your head is not who you are. Who are you then? The one who sees it. Most people are so identified with the voice, with the thoughts in their head, that they don't even realize that there is something else besides the voice. Just stop for a second and look at your own thoughts. Observe your thoughts as if you are observing another person, and soon you will realize that there are actually 2 entities: the thoughts and the one who watches the thoughts. The one who watches is you. The other one is just a creature that pretends to be you and works very hard to convince you that it is you, but it is not you. Lesson number 2, humanity's biggest disease: constant thinking. I personally never realized that thinking constantly is a huge problem until I read Eckhart Tolle's books. That is why I wish his teachings were a mandatory class at schools. Here's why. The normal state of mind of most humans contains a major dysfunction, and not knowing how to control it leads to many problems. For example, we learn how to use different tools and machines, but never learn how to control our most powerful machine on this planet: our brain and mind. The more powerful a machine is, the more control it requires. For example, you wouldn't give control of your car to a 5-year-old kid, but currently, humanity has given control of the most powerful machine to a monkey. Thinking without being aware of the fact that you are thinking is the main problem of human existence. Since everybody does it, we believe that it is the norm, but it isn't. There's a great story in the book that explains this perfectly. The author says, "One time on the way to university, a woman in her early 30s sat opposite me on the train. One could not help but notice her because she appeared to be quite insane. She looked extremely tense and talked to herself constantly in a loud and angry voice. She was so absorbed in her thoughts that she was totally unaware of other people or her surroundings. Even after she was gone, I was still thinking about her when I was in the men's room prior to entering the library. As I was washing my hands, I thought, I hope I don't end up like her. The man next to me looked briefly in my direction, and I suddenly was shocked when I realized that I hadn't just thought those words, but mumbled them aloud. Oh no, I'm already like her, I thought. Wasn't my mind as constantly active as hers? There were only minor differences between us. The main underlying emotion behind her thinking seemed to be anger. In my case, it was mostly anxiety. She thought out loud. I thought in my head. If she was mad, then everyone was mad, including me. There were differences in degree only. Lesson number 3. The voice in the head. What is it made of? Okay, so far we learned that there's a voice in your head that never shuts up, and you are not that voice, but the one who watches it. Now, let's try to understand what this voice is actually made of and how it was created. The author uses different terms to describe the voice, such as false self, bundle of old thoughts, illusory self, fictitious self, and the simplest and the most used one in the book is ego. In the rest of the video, I will refer to the voice in the head as ego. One of the most basic mind structures through which the ego comes into existence is identification. Identification with what? Identification with things. When I identify with something, I make it the same. The same as what? The same as I. For example, if you pay attention to children who are just starting to talk, you will see that they don't have a sense of I. Their ego hasn't fully developed yet. That is why they refer to themselves in the third case instead of using I. They say things like, Johnny is hungry, Johnny wants water, this is Johnny's toy. Later on, when the child develops, ego also develops and Johnny's toy becomes my toy. Then my toy becomes my car, my house, my clothes, etc. And so, as the child grows up, the original I thought attracts other thoughts to itself. The child becomes identified with gender, possessions, body, nationality, race, religion, and profession. Other things the I identifies are roles: mother, father, husband, wife, likes, and dislikes. Look, this explanation you just saw about ego probably isn't enough for you to fully understand what it really looks like and how it appears in your daily life, but no worries, the next lesson will make it clear. Lesson number 4, many faces of ego. I will give you 8 examples where you can see how ego appears in your life. Number 1, the ego's need to feel superior. You're about to tell someone the news of what happened. Guess what? You don't know yet. Let me tell you. If you are alert enough and present enough, you may be able to detect a momentary sense of satisfaction within yourself just before telling the news, even if it's bad news. It's due to the fact that for a brief moment there is, in the eyes of the ego, an imbalance in your favor between you and the other person. For that brief moment, you know more than the other. The satisfaction that you feel is from the ego. Even if he or she is the president, you feel superior at that moment because you know more. Many people are addicted to gossiping partly for this reason. Number 2, ego and fame. You've probably said things like this. You know, I have an uncle who works in a very high government organization. Or, my father is a famous doctor. Or, I have a friend who is a well-known businessman. If you need help, I can ask him. This phenomenon is called name dropping. The casual mention of who you know is part of the ego's strategy of gaining a superior identity in the eyes of others by associating itself with someone important. When someone mentions your name, they are not interested in you at all, but only in strengthening their fictitious self, their ego. They believe that through you, they can be more. They are looking to complete themselves through you, or rather through the mental image they have of you as a famous person. Number 3, role-playing. If you are aware enough to observe how you interact with other people, you may detect subtle changes in your speech, attitude, and behavior, depending on the person you are interacting with. The way in which you speak to the chairman of the company may be different in subtle ways from how you speak to the janitor. How you speak to a child may be different from how you speak to an adult. Why is that? You are playing roles. You are not yourself, neither with the chairman, nor with the janitor or the child. One of the most common roles is the role of a parent. Parents who are identified with the role cannot let go of being a parent even when the child grows into an adult. Even when that adult child is 40 years old, parents can't let go of the notion, I know what's best for you. If unconscious assumptions and motivations behind the parents' desire to manipulate their children were made conscious and voiced, they would probably look like this. I want you to achieve what I never achieved. I want you to be somebody in the eyes of the world so that I too can be somebody through you. Don't disappoint me, I sacrificed so much for you. My disapproval of you is intended to make you feel so guilty and uncomfortable that you finally conform to my wishes. I know what's best for you. I love you and I will continue to love you if you do what I know is right for you. When you make such unconscious motivations conscious, you immediately see how absurd they are. The ego that lies behind them becomes visible. The author says, some parents that I spoke to suddenly realized, oh no, is this what I've been doing? If your parents are doing this to you, do not tell them they are unconscious and in the grip of the ego. That will likely make them even more unconscious because the ego will take up a defensive position. It is enough for you to recognize that it is the ego in them. That is not who they are. Egoic patterns, even long-standing ones, sometimes dissolve almost miraculously when you don't oppose them. Be aware also of your own unconscious assumptions or expectations of your parents. My parents should approve of what I do. They should understand me and accept me for who I am. Really? Why should they? The fact is, they don't because they can't. They are not yet able to disidentify from their role. Yes, but I can't feel happy and comfortable with who I am unless I have their approval and understanding. Really? What difference does their approval or disapproval truly make to who you are? All such unexamined assumptions cause a great deal of negative emotion and unnecessary happiness. Number 4, ego and competition. I want to help you, but if I help you, I will be creating competition for myself. Or, if I help you to enter this market, your channel will be bigger than mine. Or, you're entering this market means I will be getting fewer views. These are the types of answers I sometimes get when I ask for cooperation from other YouTube channels. As many of you know, I've been translating this channel into other languages, and cooperation is one of the best ways to successfully launch a new channel. Sometimes, no matter how much I explain the benefits of the cooperation and how much I can help them in return, they still hold back their help. They feel like me entering the market and being successful means they will become less successful, which is absolutely not the case. I know this for a fact, at least on YouTube space. The author says that people unknowingly sabotage their own work when they withhold help or information from others, or try to undermine them so that they don't become more successful or get more credit than me. Cooperation is alien to the ego, except when there is a secondary motive. The ego doesn't know that the more you include others, the more smoothly things flow and the more easily things come to you. When you give little or no help to others or put obstacles in their path, the universe gives little or no help to you because you have cut yourself off from the whole. The ego's unconscious core feeling is lack, so it reacts to someone else's success as if that success had taken something away from me. It doesn't know that your resentment of another person's success prevents your own chances of success. Number 5, ego and negativity. Whenever you are in a negative state, pay attention and you will see that there is something in you that wants the negativity. It perceives negativity as pleasurable or believes it will get you what you want. Otherwise, who would want to hang on to negativity, make themselves and others miserable, and create disease in the body? So whenever there is negativity in you, if you can be aware at that moment that there is something in you that takes pleasure in it or believes it has a useful purpose, you are becoming aware of the ego directly. If, in the midst of negativity, you are able to realize, at this moment, I am creating suffering for me, it will be enough to raise you above the limitations of conditioned egoic states and reactions. It will open up infinite possibilities. Number 6, ego and scarcity. They don't appreciate me enough despite all I did for them. I deserve a pay raise, but my manager doesn't give it to me. I work more than my colleague, but still earn less than him. The author says that if the thought of lack, whether it be money, recognition, or love, has become part of who you are, then you will always experience lack. The fact is, whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you are withholding from the world. You are withholding it because deep down you think you are small and that you have nothing to give. Try this for a couple of weeks and see how it changes your reality. Whatever you think people are withholding from you, praise, appreciation, assistance, loving care, and so on, give it to them. You don't have it. Just act as if you had it, and it will come. Then, soon after you start giving, you will start receiving. You cannot receive what you don't give. Outflow determines inflow. Whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you already have. But unless you allow it to flow out, you won't even know that you have it. Number 7, ego and illness. You know I am the sufferer of this and that illness. I'm sure you've heard such sentences from people around you. These people make illness part of their identity. Sometimes they use this identity proudly. This is because egos only differ on the surface. Deep down, they're all the same. In what way are they the same? They live on identification. Once the ego has found an identity, it does not want to let it go. If identity is lost, the ego quickly finds a new form. The fact that this new form is a deeply unhappy one doesn't concern the ego, as long as it has an identity, good or bad. You can easily identify with a problematic body and make the body's imperfection, illness, or disability into your identity. Number 8, reactivity and complaining. There are many people who are always waiting for the next thing to react against, to feel annoyed or disturbed about, and it never takes long before they find it. This is an outrage! How dare you? I resent this. They are addicted to upset and anger as others are to a drug. By reacting against this or that, they assert and strengthen their ego. When you complain, by implication you are right and the person or situation you complain about or react against is wrong. There is nothing that strengthens the ego more than being right. The ego loves to complain and feel resentful, not only about other people, but also about situations. The implication is always, this should not be happening. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I'm being treated unfairly. And the ego's greatest enemy of all, of course, the present moment, which is to say, life itself. Lesson number 5. Solution: how to take back control of your life. I have 3 practical tips for you. Number 1, observe your thoughts. You cannot fight against the ego and win, just as you cannot fight against darkness. The light of consciousness is all that is necessary. You are that light. The moment you put light on the ego, it dissolves. So all you need to begin to separate your true self from your egoic self is to observe your thoughts. The author calls this watching the thinker. The ego isn't right or wrong, it's just unconscious. When you observe the ego in yourself, you are beginning to go beyond it. Don't take the ego too seriously either. When you detect egoic behavior in yourself, smile. At times you may even laugh. Above all, know that the ego isn't personal. It isn't who you are. If you consider the ego to be your personal problem, that's just more ego. Whenever you are present and notice the voice, you will also realize that you are not the voice, but the one who is aware of it. The moment you become aware of the ego in you, it is no longer the ego, but just an old, conditioned mind pattern. This will lead to a collapse of the ego. Number 2, be aware of your breathing. The author says, someone recently showed me the list of courses and seminars from a large spiritual organization. When I looked through it, I was impressed by the wide choice of interesting seminars and workshops. It reminded me of those Scandinavian buffets where you can take your pick from a huge variety of enticing dishes. The person asked me whether I could recommend 1 or 2 courses. I don't know, I said. They all look so interesting. But I do know this, I added. Be aware of your breathing as often as you are able, whenever you remember. Do that for 1 year, and it will be more powerfully transformative than attending all of these courses. And it's free. I personally think this is one of the easiest and yet the most effective tips, especially for beginners. Simply be aware of your breathing. Notice the sensation of the breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Notice how the chest and abdomen expand and contract slightly with the in and out breath. 1 conscious breath is enough to make some space where before there was the uninterrupted succession of one thought after another. 1 conscious breath. 2 or 3 would be even better. Taken many times a day is an excellent way of bringing space into your life. Number 3, feel the inner body. No matter what your body's appearance is on the outer level, beyond the outer form, there's an intensely alive energy field. If you're not familiar with inner body awareness, close your eyes for a moment and find out if there is life inside your hands. Don't ask your mind. It will say, I can't feel anything. It will probably also say, give me something more interesting to think about. So instead of asking your mind, go to the hands directly. By this, I mean becoming aware of the subtle feeling of aliveness inside them. It's there. You just have to go there with your attention to notice it. You may get a slight tingling sensation at first, and then a feeling of energy or aliveness. If you hold your attention in your hands for a while, the sense of aliveness will intensify. Some people won't even have to close their eyes. They will be able to feel their inner hands at the same time as they watch this. Then go to your feet. Keep your attention there for a minute or so and begin to feel your hands and feet at the same time. Then incorporate other parts of the body, legs, arms, abdomen, chest, and so on, into that feeling until you are aware of the inner body and its aliveness. What the author calls the inner body isn't really the body anymore, but life energy, the bridge between form and formlessness. Make it a habit to feel the inner body as often as you can. After a while, you won't need to close your eyes anymore to feel it. Body awareness not only anchors you in the present moment, it's a doorway out of the prison that is created by the ego. It also strengthens the immune system and the body's ability to heal itself. If you think this was a useful video and more people should see it, then hit that like button. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps the video get recommended to others. Thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.